from Witchpeace Craft. Welcome to a video finally. Yes, I'm doing a market review of my first market for the year. I've only got 3 planned for the year so far. I may do others if they come along and I feel like it. But I've had issues with the internet. It wasn't just the modem, it was the cabling to the house. Hopefully we've sorted them out and things are back on track. And we finally got our air conditioners repaired last week. So yeah, hopefully the rest of the year will be bright and no problems. Market review. Well, because it was last weekend and it's now into Monday of the week after, I have a few notes so I wouldn't forget. My first market. Well, with the time from December to April, I fell down the rabbit hole of watching market videos and seeing what was selling, buying patterns, making them. And to be honest, not everything sells for everybody. And I had a lot of inventory and I took it all to market, which was silly. So where's my notes? I'll start with the market organization and the general outlook. It's a well-organized market. It is only the second year they've done one in April. They do November and December, but this is the second year they've done one in April. There's great communication. The stalls are organized really. The bays are really good. They didn't get as many stalls as they would have liked, stall holders, so I ended up paying for a bay, but I actually got a bay and a half, which is the trap I fell into, because you can bump in at lunchtime on the Saturday and the market is from 8 till 1 on the Sunday. And when I went there Saturday, I'm like, oh, a bay and a half. And I took way too much stuff. I filled it completely. Tip number 1, less is more. I have a few tips for you along the way. I should remember, less is more. So at the market, there were 2 other amigurumi crocheters. One was diagonally opposite me and she had plushies. All the plushies, like same as me, loaf cats, turtles. She actually had dragons. She had bigger ones, not as much inventory as me. And then the lady that's usually there when I'm there in December, which is way over the other side, because it's an indoor market, way over the other side of the hall, she does acrylic amigurumis, quite big ones. And I didn't go and look. I do get annoyed when other crocheters come to my stall, don't tell me they're stall holders and start checking everything out and the prices. So I don't do that. Even though she was diagonally opposite me, I, smile polite, but I didn't go over there and she didn't come over to me. My friend earlier went for a walk around, but I didn't ask her to check out prices. She just said that, and that's how I found out. The acrylic lady was there as normal, who has really nice big acrylic amigurumis, and she said the other lady has lots of plushies, but I didn't want to know their prices. Same as, everybody's different and everybody does a market stall for a different reason. Having said that, directly opposite me was a glass terrarium stall, and with it being just before Mother's Day, they did a roaring trade. I've never seen them there before, but it looked beautiful, and it was a case of they'd see my stuff and then they go, oh, the glass terrarium's shiny, and I lose customers. So business wasn't that great. And I also, the lady opposite, I wasn't watching her for sales. I had a crochet project. I had something terrible go wrong that absolutely freaked me out, and I'll explain that too. So the day's trade. Well, we had a lovely day, but there was also another market called the Tanks Market, which is in a more middle-class suburb upmarket, and it's a more artistry type market. The Tanks It's difficult to explain. If I go there soon, I'll take some video and show you the tanks. They use them for functions. They have markets around there. It's quite a good market. I just haven't been for a number of years. And with the weather being nice, I think a lot of people went there. So the actual foot traffic at this market seemed really quiet and not that busy. And it was reflected in the sales. However, it wasn't that bad. I did have a male friend from a previous job come up. His wife had like a store 3 or 4 down from me with friends. They do sewn items. I bought drawstring bags off them that they make for project bags in material. They have that sort of thing, and bits and pieces for people who do sewing to buy. He said they don't promote it enough. He didn't know it was on. And to be honest, my friend Ulia didn't know it was on until we talked about it. They did a bit more promotion this year, but not much. And to be honest, I'm working in different industries. Advertising is expensive. And even though the market is fundraising for charity and not for profit, businesses get sick of being hit up for free stuff for advertising. So, I mean, they did virtually nothing last year, and they did a little bit on Facebook this year. So each year it will get better, I'm sure of it. And yeah, it's just the way it is. Promoting it, it's difficult when you have to pay for things. Okay, my market day. My first sale was hair-raisingly crazy. She actually picked quite a few items. I had checked my square FPOS. It was working when I set up, and then I went to use it and it just wouldn't work. I couldn't even get email or help from them. It just crashed. The lady was lovely. She was obviously visiting her grandchildren locally and was going back, and she went off to find an ATM. That's another thing about this market. The other markets, they have an ATM there on site, automatic cash machine for those, but there wasn't one. She went off to a nearby shop, but their ATM was down and not working. And she came back and she really wanted these items. So her daughter, who was with her older daughter, said, can we do a direct bank deposit? And we did that. And she showed me, and I got the receipt, and it went straight into my bank account. Look, she bought, the first thing I sold was my Yip Yip. I could have sold so many Yip Yips, and I don't know why I don't make them, other than they hurt my hands. And then she picked it, because she had 2 little grandchildren. She let them pick a little $5 amigurumi each. And then there was my lovies, that, you know, the toy that I put the blanket on, and there's this little one, and the girl liked it, and she said to me, can we just buy the blanket? She's got cat toys at home, and I let her have that, because she was just lovely and so generous in waiting around. Look, this square, for half an hour I was trying to get it to work with her, and it just wouldn't. I lost a customer who wouldn't wait around, that wanted to buy something on FPOS, and I couldn't do it. I ended up contacting Rebs, my son, thinking, well, it's a reasonable time. He might get up and have a look. He actually got up, dialed into my laptop. I don't know what he did with the square, because my square works off my iPad, hot spotted from my phone. But he got it all working for me via my laptop, via the website. He said there will always be issues because I have a Galaxy phone and I use an iPad to do it, and I'm trying to get them to talk to each other. And he said that's the problem with iPads. It's always Apple. And the thing is, in the past I've had an iPhone and I don't like them. I really like the Galaxy phones. So, but after he fixed it, whatever he did remotely, it worked like a dream. But all I could think of at the time, panicking, is it's really quiet. Half my sales are usually FPOS. I'm going to have a terrible day without FPOS. But I didn't in the end. It was okay. So yeah, she bought nearly $40 worth of stuff off me, and I figured the little blanket was like a granny square this big. Why not just give it to her and I'll make another one, another lovey square for my toy. So tip number 2, try not to panic when technology fails. And I was panicking by that time. Ulia wasn't there, which was probably a blessing because she's about as technically apt as me, probably worse than me. And think outside the box and have some faith in people. I was a bit nervous about a direct deposit, but honestly, they did it all in front of me. The daughter emailed me a receipt and bang, it went into my bank account. So have some faith and trust in people, and think outside the box and don't panic, Judy. So, market results. Look, I sold, and I don't usually do figures, $345 in sales. And I was disappointed, but my last year's sales for this market were $299. The fees haven't changed. It's $55 for the booth fee, and you make an item donation to the charity they're fundraising. And I always try and do like a 20, if I'm selling something for $25, that's what I pick to donate. Usually something I've been carrying around for a while that hasn't sold, and I pick something like that and I donate that item. So I always say my fees are about $75, and that's it. So I had improvement on last year's sales, but not huge improvement. And I was pretty down about it. And then I was watching Robin from Notting Hook Crochet about her market, and she made a similar amount. And like she said, it's nothing to write home about, but it was nothing to cry about. I wasn't crying, but I certainly did cheer up when I heard that. My tea towel sales were down. Last year I sold 22. This year I only sold 16. And that's because Ulia told me 2 other stalls that don't do craft have suddenly decided they're going to do tea towels. One lady did sewn toppers, and the one further down from me on the back wall was doing crochet toppers. Even though they sold other items, I think word got out that I have a monopoly on the market. But like, if you've worked in retail, you'll realize a product has a life cycle, same as plushies. You might have something selling really well at one market, and by the time you get to another market, it's no longer, in favor, and people have moved on to something else. So my tea towel toppers, although I had like 45 with me, I'll still do them, but I won't rely on them to be my number one seller, even though they were, again, at this market. What did I have that was an overkill at the market? Well, loaf cats. Didn't sell a loaf cat. Turtles, I had 4 and I sold 1. It was quite a big one, so I was pleased with that. It was a good dollar amount. Axolotls, I'd made heaps more. I think I've got like 4 and I didn't sell any. So yeah, the regular things that I have sold a lot of have died. However, my gold positive potato was a big hit. The dirty colored one, not so much, but I could have sold more of the gold ones the one I made. So I will make more of those because they were really, like, people raved over it. And I had people come back, is it here? And I went, no, it's been sold. So I only had 1, but I probably could have sold 5. It was so popular. And it was priced right. I didn't go silly. I think I sold it for $12, which is, not a bad price. What else did I sell? So I sold a lot of one-offs and 2s. I won't be a moment. Just had to get some more notes. So my number 1 selling item was my tea towels. Number 2 was hair scrunchies. I don't know why. I've never really sold a lot in the past. I tend to give them away as free gifts, but I sold 7 hair scrunchies. I'm lucky if I sell 1 or 2. So yeah, that was really great. And as far as amigurumi plushies goes, chicken in the egg. I sold all 3 and could have sold a lot more. Currently, chickens in the egg are popular. Ulia said to me years ago for her grandson, she did a dinosaur in an egg, and I asked her if she could find the little dinosaur pattern. I'd really like that because I might do dinosaurs in eggs for my November market. But yeah, very popular. And yet again, I had them priced right. I had one that was larger than the others, so that was $12, and the other two were $10. So that's just a guide of what I sell things for. After that, $5 Ammies, I only sold 3, and pretty much 2 key rings, and I sold 2 of my flowers. I did make a sunflower as well before the market that I never showed you. I sold the 2 roses to little girls. I do want to show you something. So when I made the flowers, I thought I was brilliant. Except the night before the market, I said to Thing and Reeves, oh, how am I going to wrap those if someone buys them? So we usually have wrapping paper on hand, and Thing made me these tubes. I hadn't bought any, I didn't have time to buy, but he made me these. And when the little girls bought their flowers, one was buying it for a friend's birthday, the other was getting it from Mum, over the moon that they could take them back. I just slipped them in the top, and that was their flower, their rose. So I sold the 2 roses, which I was chuffed about. I plan to always have the little vase with flowers. I'll do a couple roses, and I may do some lavender. But yeah, he was just, I always call Thing, hubby, my MacGyver. He can always come up with something, and that's what he did for me. And he made enough so that if I sold every flower, I'd have one for every flower. So yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. Tip number 3. What else did I sell? So I have to tell you a funny story. There's this little, she's probably the cutest thing. She's like 3, maybe 2.5, 3. And Mum's over at the glass terrariums, and Dad's looking after it. And he's looking at my chicken and the eggs, and she's watching him out the corner of her eye, waiting. And when she realizes he's not watching her, because my snakes were in a basket like that, she grabbed a snake and she'd start running, and he'd chase after her and bring her back. And then he was telling her, no, that you can't take things without paying for them. But she was only 2.5, 3. And then he's busy looking, and she does it again. She grabs a different snake, and she runs off, and he comes back with her, and he goes, I'm really sorry, my daughter keeps stealing your snakes. And I said, no, she's borrowing them. If you let her get out at the door of the building, then she's stealing them. And he had a laugh. But what he had been checking out, because she'd had her eye on it, and then she grabbed it, was my acrylic platypus, which was like $25. And he said, oh, look, I'm going to get her this. She really loves it. And she was cuddling it. And in the end, because she was so cute and he was so good with her, I gave it to him for $20. So I sold my big acrylic platypus for $20. I sort of, in my iPad, I have the cost, and I figured I'm still making good money on that. And she loved it, because she was so cute, the way she'd be. And then she'd take off when she realized he wasn't watching her. So yeah, you know, a lot of the markets, like the Christmas markets, the kids can be frustrating. And it's not their fault. The parents don't teach them certain rules of, you know, you don't touch, you don't do this, you don't play with things. And you can get quite frustrated when it's busy with kids. But this market wasn't busy with kids. And the children at this market were just absolutely adorable and lovely. They were just so well mannered. A little guy came up, 5 or 6, and he was holding the tiniest triceratops. I don't know where he got it. It was acrylic, so maybe the other lady who sells mainly big ones had it. And he'd seen an octopus on mine, but his mum said, you spent your pocket money. And he went, oh. And I said, that's okay. And he was talking to me and telling me how he liked the octopus, but he'd got a triceratops. And I said, well, if you come back to the market at Christmas, I'm sure I'll have an octopus then. And he waved goodbye, and I said, well, don't forget to feed your triceratops so he grows over the break. And he laughed and walked off. So there's some really cute kids. And my last story is the one at the end. Mum had been a few times to look at this bee tea towel that I'd done. That was only $6. It's one of my cheaper ones. And then she said to her daughter, who was probably about 8 or 9, her daughter said, "Buy it, Mum." She said, "Oh, but you can't have anything, we're not that financially off." And she said, "Buy it for Mother's Day. I don't need anything." And she turned to me, she said, "You have such lovely things." And it was my last sale of the day. And I had been doing it during the day. I have these acrylic amigurumis at $5, and I have so many of them. I gave her my leggy rabbit that I made, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and told her she could have that. I said, because you just did a really lovely thing for your mum, and you've got such lovely manners. She went beetroot red, and Mum said, "Wow." I said, "Here, you have that for you, and Mum can have her tea towel." Yeah, so, you have little amigurumis that you've made out of scraps, and you give them away to customers who are like her or people who spend a lot. It's good to pay it forward a bit. So on the day, I probably gave away $5 little amigurumis as gifts for different reasons. But it always makes me feel good, and I have so many. What am I going to do with them? So that's what I do. It's either, if the little girl's got long hair, because I never sold scrunchies before, I put a scrunchie in with a little gift. But yeah, it's always nice to do something nice for someone else. Look, the market, I don't find it as much hard work as I did when they had the beach markets down at Holloway's where I live. Because the beach markets, I had to get there at 5 or 5:36, start setting up and be ready to go at 8. And then by 11:30, you're dealing with the wind and the sea breeze. And it is a lovely spot. It was a great market. I never did more sales than I have done now. They were around 350 was my best day, sometimes less. But yeah, that was hard work, because it's all in one hit, and you're tired, and you had to move your car. So then when it's time to pack up, you've got to wait to see if you can get parking close enough to pack up, come home and unpack. So I always found that hard work. This market I don't, because we can go in Saturday. Some people set up their whole stall with their items and everything. I don't do that. Thing and I set up the basic layout and all the shelvings and racks and what I'm going to use, and then I throw some cover cloths over it. I may have tubs under the table out of sight, but that's because I have so many little things, and it can get windy when people are setting up because I have all the doors and roller doors open. So yeah, you go the next day a bit later, be ready to start by 8, and off you go. And with things help on the Sunday morning to put things out, and he's so used to helping me, and he knows what things I like him to do. It really does take like an hour to put everything out and set up at the most, and do signage, and then he'll go off and get me a coffee from the coffee van and come back. I'll go to the ladies, and he'll go, and then and sometimes my friend Ulia turns up. But this week, this market, she was late. She didn't turn up till much later because she got busy doing puzzles. She's into doing these mystery puzzles. But yeah, it was quiet anyway. So my next scheduled market, as I said, is not till November. They have started local community markets. They still can't hold them at the beach due to all the damage from the flooding 2 years ago, or nearly 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years this December, a year and a half ago. But they're doing them around the community hall and centre. So there are limited sites you can have. I did get an email. The market I attend with $55, I don't need insurance. It includes insurance. The community market they've started up, the fees are reasonable, but you have to have insurance. I checked that out. And the one I got invited to is on Mother's Day. And I have done Mother's Day markets in the past, and I've never really enjoyed it. I like to have my Mother's Day. So I'll wait till they have another one. They had one before Easter, and I went down to have a look. There was a young girl there, and I did take a photo, and I did take her business card, and I've lost the lot. She was selling plushies, little plushies and different things. I did notice there wasn't a lot of foot traffic. Down the beach market, it was well known, there was a lot of traffic. So yeah, if I do decide to do a community market before November, I'm not expecting it to be fantastic sales. It's more about helping my community and making sure we maintain some sort of market when we can move back and have our beach market along the foreshore, which isn't sand. It's all grass and trees. It's where the rainforest meets the beach, and then off the edge is the sand and the beach and the water, the ocean, and out there somewhere is the Great Barrier Reef. It was a beautiful spot, but it is a lot harder to do that than this one because I've got the bump in the day before, and then I can go the next morning. I can lay in a bit. I don't have to get up so early, and I can go and set up. So that was my market. Not, as Robin said, nothing to write home about, but nothing to cry about. I did move a lot of individual items. I probably only did, besides I did sell one of my snakes, and that was the girl bought the snake, and I thought that was really sweet. It was more than her pocket money or the money they'd allowed, and he was slightly older, a year or two. She was probably about 9. He was probably 10 or 11. And he said to his mum, I'll let her have my money. She can have the snake. And because he was so nice and let his sister have the snake, I gave him a $5 amigurumi monster. Like I said, sometimes the kids can be really, really great. And it's nice to make them feel like they've done something nice, to reward them unexpectedly. So yeah, I had that. I sold a snake. Yeah, a lot of individual things. I sold my flippy frog. I sold a beanie. Yeah, 2 old ladies bought a beanie. So yeah, a lot of things were just one-offs, and I sold more plushies than I did acrylic amigurumi this time. But like I said, the foot traffic is really low. We are in an area that's suffering economically because we rely on tourism too much. This weekend we had our federal election, which is the whole government of the country, and I won't go into that too much, but hopefully the economy will be focused on, and that's one of the things. I got talking to the lady who's usually next to me in this spot with her handmade pottery, which is beautiful, and she said she doesn't even have FPOS. She relies totally on cash. And I said, I would lose half my sales. She said, my sales would be 100% better if I had FPOS. But she said, I just couldn't handle the drama. So she relies on people bringing cash, which is becoming less and less. Fees-wise, I think it's like $145 on FPOS. And I don't know, my square fees are low. It was like $2.78 for my square fees. So I'm definitely finished in the black. I haven't worked out the net costs, and I do donate things to charity, which brings me to, I got some happy mail that was supposed to arrive before the market from Karen in South Australia. Hi Karen, it did arrive. You know what Australia Post is like. Yours arrived. My friend at the post office, she ordered something. It went to a totally different town and back to the supplier, even though the address was for here. And she works for Australia Post, so you can never tell. Anyway, I'm going to take out and show you what she sent me. Even though it arrived after the markets, I will keep it for my next markets. So she makes, and I love these, and the kids love them, these finger, a bag of them. I don't know how many's in there. Finger octopus. I sell these for $3 each. And she sends me this to fundraise for Emma's Quest. So what I do when I price things up, these tickets have EQ for Emma's Quest. And when they go on my iPad, they're under the EQ code. And that tells me I've sold items for Emma's Quest, and that's 100% profit goes to Emma's Quest. And that's how I do it. I had a subscriber donate her prize to charity, and I chose Emma's Quest. So yes, that was much appreciated. I've had subscribers before donate money through my Ko-fi account, which I always say my first charity is still Emma's Quest, but I do other charities. So I will count them and let you know in the end how many finger octos in there. The kids love them. They really do when they see them. So I'm so glad. I would have loved to have had them for the market, but they didn't arrive in time. But they are there for a future market. I don't know what else she sent me. She sent me a shawl. She loves to make shawls. I did read her card. I'll show you isn't this beautiful? She sent me the ball band and the leftover yarn so I could see who it was by. Azalea, 52% cotton, 48% acrylic, from Hobie. That's the ball band with the cotton. And she sent me this beautiful shawl. I took 2 shawls. I didn't sell any, but I think it's because money's tight, and I will sell them at Christmas. Isn't that beautiful? So that will get priced accordingly, and on the ticket I'll have EQ for Emma's Quest. So that's 100% of the sale will go to Emma's Quest. It's just beautiful. Hopefully I can take a picture. In this light it looks similar to the one I made, but it's not. It's a lot darker greens than mine. We've had a lot of rain. We have a long weekend with the public holiday today, and of course it's rained. It's just starting to sort of clear up, but it's still overcast. If I can take a picture of that on my model Gertrude, I'll put it at the end so you can check it out. Then in here there's all sorts of little, look at that, isn't that cute? We're doing hearts for May for Random Act of Kindness. Isn't that cute? There are just more of these little fidget type toys she makes with these googly eyes in this bag. It's just so cute. And in here is a birthday present. It's my birthday tomorrow, so I'll do a video because I've got a few things I need to open that have been sent to me for my birthday or given to me. She said in the card it's more like Christmas, but she still thinks it's pretty cute. And she sends her business card, which when I sell something like this, with the tags, I put her business card so that they can see she's got an Etsy shop and they can buy things from her Etsy shop, because I really appreciate the things she sends me for Emma's Quest. 10 googly-eyed keychains they are. And in here she's written 8 octos. I think there's more than 8. 8 by Octopus Fiddle Toys. That looks like more than 8 to me. But yeah, that's what she sent me that arrived in the late mail. But look, it's always, I can store this until the next market, and it certainly will sell. And thank you, Karen, for sending me that stuff. It is just awesome. I really appreciate it. I know Doreen, Emma's mum, appreciates the money we raise. We're not doing huge fundraisers. We're just keeping her little trust account with money in it, so that if there's something that's not covered by the government insurance, NDIS, or some sort of therapy that she wants to use it for Emma, then that's when it gets used. It's not for trips or holidays or luxury items. It's usually for something that benefits Emma's independence. There you go. My nervous hiccups finally arrived. Anyway, guys, that was my market stall. I enjoyed it. It wasn't busy. It wasn't hot. It was just not. I got spoilt in December when I did huge sales, but then I'm looking forward to November and December, and I already have stock. I've decided I'm going to try and do some patterns or plushies and amigurumi toys that are a bit different to everybody else. I read somewhere people are sick of seeing videos about the loaf cat and the turtle and your market prep. And I thought, well, fine, I'll try my videos. I might look at doing something a little different and try and bring some interest back to the video. Wish me luck, because I'm not that adventurous usually. Anyway, what else have I got planned? I still have my bag with what's in the bag. I have done some little things that I have thrown in there. I've made a hat this week for Bod Hatapalooza. I'll show you that in a future video. The other thing I've been asked and I've got emails about, and yes, I have a huge amount of emails to reply to. I've done a few at work using their internet, but I don't like to use it too much. Hopefully with my internet settling down, I'll get around to replying to some emails. I've been asked about, I'm thinking about doing a market stall. What would I need to know? What would I need to do? And I made a lot of notes, and I thought I'd do a video on what I did and help some people who may want to do a market and outline the benefits and the pitfalls you can fall into. But the number one thing is you won't become a millionaire, trust me. Anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed my market update, my funny little stories, and you have a great rest of your day. I don't know, try and find a crafty item that gives you pleasure and enjoyment to make. That's my new motto for this month. Bye for now.